Okay, so here we are live once again with another NECA glow-in-the-dark universal monster, and this is the Bride of Frankenstein. So if we look here on the back, we've got the cross-cell for all the various glow-in-the-dark figures that NECA has done. You see all the ones in here in this top row, those are the ones that were done by Remco back in the day. We got the Mummy, we got Frankenstein, we got the Wolfman, we got Dracula, we got the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and we got the Phantom of the Opera. And the three down here are new characters that NECA has added to the mix. We have the Bride of Frankenstein that I hold here in my hot little hands. We got the Invisible Man, and we got Nosferatu, who technically is not really a universal monster. He was a Prana Films monster, I guess. But you know, the newest version of Nosferatu, the 2025 remake, that one actually was released by Universal Studios. So I guess in a roundabout way, Nosferatu is now a Universal monster. I guess, kinda, sorta. You know, NECA should make a 2025 Nosferatu figure, though. That would be awesome. Bobby Wald is here and says he doesn't blow that well because all I see is a black screen. Well, I don't know why you're seeing a black screen. I should be on here. Yeah. Can you not see me yet? Because I'm apparently showing. Let me grab my phone. Hang on a second. Check on my YouTube. Did I? God damn it.
At worst, you remain a nobody.
Okay.
Stay a nobody.
Great. Spilled my soda. All right. Well, don't knock over again. So why am I not showing up? Yep, that's me. That's me right now. Now you have picture. Okay. Well, now I have to go get a towel because I knocked over my soda. Should be one around here somewhere. I thought there was. Oh, well. Spilled all over the place. Why would you do that? Come on. Got soda on my flashlight. Okay. So, where was I? There's my fat ass sitting down on the couch. Yeah, so I don't know what the deal was. I don't know. Maybe it was just you. Anybody who's watching in the comments, let me know if there was any blank screen at all. It looks like it's fine now, if anything. So maybe it was just Bobby Wald. Maybe it's just you. Maybe it's YouTube doing something weird. But yeah, it's working now. Caused me to spill my soda. Thanks, YouTube or StreamYard or whoever's fault that was. Now I got half a can of soda all over my floor and all over this table and all over the Baroness's feet, which is not as exciting as it sounds, folks. All right, so Bride of Frankenstein. That's what I got open for you today. So we'll just go through the whole thing again. So you can see here, it's got all the figures that NECA has produced in this glow-in-the-dark line so far. And all the ones in this top row, that's the ones that Remco actually did back in the day, which is the Mummy, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Phantom of the Opera. And then the three that NECA added to the mix, which was Bride of Frankenstein, this one, the Invisible Man, and Nosferatu. And of these, I now have all of them except for the Invisible Man, Nosferatu, and unfortunately the very expensive Creature from the Black Lagoon, which I'm probably not gonna wind up getting because he's so freaking expensive. I'm gonna try to find one for a good price, but I don't know how successful I'm gonna be. Anyway, lovely piece of artwork there, photograph of Elsa Lanchester as the bride. They ran it through that kind of posterizing effect. Not quite as high contrast as what was actually on the old Universal packaging, but the old Remco packaging is what I mean. But it fits. I got to imagine if Remco had actually made a Bride of Frankenstein figure, and they should have made a Bride of Frankenstein figure, I say, she would have looked something like this. The packaging would have looked something like this. Bobby Wald says the Invisible Man should be easy. All you do is get a doll shirt and have it float in midair. Well, I can do you one better than that. Here's my Invisible Man figure. And you can see I worked really hard on this. It looks exactly like in the movie. Look at that Claude Rains likeness. Did I not nail that or what? I mean, that looks exactly like him. And the really cool thing is I actually made it some alternate heads. So pop that off and look at there. There's Vincent Price from The Invisible Man Returns, and Abbott and Costello meet the Invisible Man. And I even started working on the Invisible Woman. This is not the Invisible Woman from Marvel Comics. This is the Invisible Woman from the Universal film, The Invisible Woman. It's, I think, just a coincidence that she's named that. But again, looks just like how she looks in the movie, doesn't she? So, and then I've been working. I don't do many custom vehicles, but I've been working on a McFarlane multiverse-sized version of Wonder Woman's Invisible Jet. And here, let me actually, I'll pop the canopy. And I can set the Wonder Woman figure inside of it. And doesn't she look great when she's flying in her invisible jet? So we'll set that back aside for now. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted away from my action figure. So one thing that I notice about her is that, for one thing, I'm going to say they did a really nice job on the makeup. I think that, you see the way they nailed those kind of arched eyebrows and those little bow lips. And it really does look like Elsa Lanchester. But there were some liberties that were taken with this. For one thing, you'll notice that her hair is black. And the wig for the Bride of Frankenstein actually does still exist. And I've seen color pictures of it. She's a redhead. Yeah. So, but oftentimes on the merchandise that you'd see back in the old days when we were watching black and white movies, they just kind of gave her black hair on a lot of the merchandise. You can see that as late as like the 1990s. Nowadays, I think with the internet and everything, enough people have seen the Bride of Frankenstein wig. They know it's supposed to be red. So on most of the merchandise these days, they do interpret her hair as being red. And in fact, the standard NECA figure, she has red hair. Bobby Wald says, I saw a trailer. They're doing a new Bride of Frankenstein movie. Yeah, that one looks interesting to me. That's the one I think Maggie Gyllenhaal directed it, and Christian Bale is in it. So now the dude has played Batman and Frankenstein, which is awesome. And it's kind of funny because like there was that Aaron Eckhart Frankenstein movie that was atrocious. But I was thinking about that scene in Dark Knight where it's Aaron Eckhart and Christian Bale as Batman, Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent, and Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon. And I'm like, dude, this is now like two Frankenstein monsters and a Dracula. But yeah, that one looks like it's going to be really cool. And then we also got, of course, the Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein movie, which looks awesome. I'm really excited about that one. So should be some fun stuff. A lot of cool stuff to be excited about for a Frankenstein fan. But yeah, also another thing I noticed about her, and I have the Frankenstein monster himself over here, so we can compare the glow-in-the-dark Frankenstein. And you see that it looks a little closer on the camera than it does in real life, but the green of her skin is a little bit darker and a lot more vibrant. It's like almost like a mint chocolate chip kind of green, whereas Frankenstein's green Frankenstein monster, groom of Frankenstein. I don't know, whatever. He has like a kind of a more of a grayish sort of green, a greenish sort of gray. Very accurate to at least as I remember it, what the old Remco Frankenstein figure looked like. So anyway, let's go ahead and open her up, and we could talk more about this. So much like the other figures in this line, yeah, managed to get it off fairly well. Didn't really mess up the artwork too much. Much like the other figures in this line, there are a lot of concessions made to this being a retro style figure, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But there she is, out of the package. And I don't feel too bad about opening this one up from the package because it was actually kind of loose at the bottom when I got it. But she is, these days, a little bit more expensive to pick up than some of the other glow-in-the-dark figures in this line. Like with Dracula, she was an exclusive, I believe, to the Neca online store. But unfortunately, I missed out on her when they had her. She sold out by the time I knew that she was up. And I just completely missed out on her. I did, though, manage to get the 2-pack that they've got coming out recently with her and Frankenstein's monster. So I'm excited about that. So I will have a more realistic version of this character coming in the future. Great. Now I got the hiccups. But now that I got her out of the package, maybe we can see a little bit more what I'm talking about when there's skin color. And like I said, looking at it on the computer monitor, it doesn't look quite as different. I think you can still see that there's a difference there, but it isn't quite as apparent on the computer monitor as it is in real life. Like I'm looking at it right now, and it's just like a complete difference. And looking at it on the screen, it just looks like it's a little bit different. So, but she does have a different skin color. She doesn't have to have the same skin color as Frankenstein's monster, as far as I'm concerned. So that's fine. I'm not going to be like too particular about that. But I did think it was worth noting. I don't know if that was an artistic choice or if they just weren't able to mix up the right color paint when they did this batch of figures. But I think it works. I think it looks good. If it was an artistic choice, I think it was a good artistic choice. She should have some sutures on the neck and the chin. And it doesn't look like they painted those in, or at least I think there's supposed to be sutures on the neck. I know there's supposed to be some like along the edge of the chin, but they didn't paint those in. And I'm fine with that because I don't think they would have painted them in on the Remco figure either, had that been a thing that they made. But we're going to take off her cape for now because I want to talk about the articulation some. And also I want to get a good look at what her body looks like underneath. And I did try to say body in like the creepiest way, like the way that you would talk about a dead body. Not like how you would talk about a girl's body. Like, not that kind of creep. That's creepy in its own. But but I'm not trying to sexualize the Bride of Frankenstein right now. I'm trying to creepify her, if anything else. But I'm not gonna lie, I had a little bit of a crush on her when I was a kid. That's we'll be honest about that. She's a very attractive lady, monster. But yeah, that's what she looks like out of the package, like out with the cape taken off. Let's talk about the cape for just a minute. So this is again, this is supposed to be like an homage to an 80s style action figure. And the original Remco figures, they had these kind of cheap vinyl capes, very similar to what Star Wars figures had at the time. Star Wars figures being very popular, and it's almost the same kind of shape as like a Star Wars cape. The only difference is the Star Wars capes tended to not have this little niche cut out of it. They tended to just be kind of like just a kind of half oval shape with 2 holes in it. And but yeah, it's not too dissimilar from what I remember Princess Leia's cape being like. When I had the old Star Wars figures when I was a kid. And I'm pretty sure that's how they would have handled this if Remco was doing it at the time. If they'd actually made a Bride of Frankenstein figure back in the 80s, like they should have, it would have been something like this. It would have been like a vinyl cape, and technically, what the bride is wearing in the movie is not a cape at all. It's like a shroud. It's like a shawl. It's like a smock. And I believe that the intention is it's supposed to give the impression of a wedding gown because, of course, she's the bride of Frankenstein. So make her look like a bride. But it's like it's also supposed to be kind of like what realistically would have been what they would have had on hand in the medical laboratory. And it's Frankenstein, so you have to say laboratory. You can't just say laboratory when you're talking about Frankenstein. You have to say laboratory and be like very, very specific about that. So yeah, most of the rest of the outfit is just her in this kind of like the surgical wrappings, and you can imagine how underneath the body has been sewn together by Henry Frankenstein and Dr. Pretorius. And I think I talked about this before in other Frankenstein videos that I've done. You'll hear me call this character Frankenstein sometimes. I am not somebody who's going to be all snobby and pedantic about what we call this character. I'm going to say that colloquially, as a shorthand, we refer to this character as Frankenstein. That's just something that we as a society do. And occasionally you'll hear somebody get pedantic about him. Like, actually, his name isn't Frankenstein. That's Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein was the name of the doctor who made the monster. It's Dr. Frankenstein, you fools. Well, I got news for you. Henry Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein, whatever you call him. He was Henry in the movie, Victor in the book. Victor Frankenstein dropped out of college, so he's not a doctor. We're going to be pedantic. Let's be pedantic, folks. Final Girl 27 is here, and she says, I love that bride, and I concur. Bobby Wald asks if they have Dr. Frankenstein and Igor. No, unfortunately, they do not. That is something, actually, my friend Rudy and I were talking about. We were talking about lots of other Universal Monsters characters that aren't necessarily monsters that we would like to see. And Henry Frankenstein and Igor were a couple of the first ones that I'd mentioned. Van Helsing would be another one. And, you know, they did make a figure of Van Helsing for the Hammer horror characters. Peter Cushing is Van Helsing. I need to get that figure. I seriously need to get that figure. But and I need to get Christopher Lee also. Oh, by the way, the ultimate edition of this, the standard edition of this, her head is supposed to be removable at the base of the neck, so you can swap out the other heads that come with it. And they didn't bother to glue this on. So if you wanted to say put this one onto the more detailed ultimate figure, you could, or put the more detailed head onto this plain white body. And it is just plain white wrappings. Doesn't have any kind of wash or anything over it. It's just a plain white figure. And again, if Remco had actually done a Bride of Frankenstein figure back in the 80s, and they should have, it would have been just a plain white figure like this. In fact, I'll go one further. They probably would have molded the whole figure in glow-in-the-dark plastic, and that would have been that figure, I think. But it is nice that you can still remove her head. And honestly, like when you're just playing with the figure, it might be nice to remove her head and pretend like you're actually putting the creature together. There we go. But yeah, I didn't get to see Bride of Frankenstein until like I was in high school, and they were showing it on AMC, and I was really excited to finally see Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah, for younger fans of the classic monsters, you might not know how hard it was in the 80s for us to find these. I had to, haunt various mom and pop video stores and hope that I could hunt down a copy here and there of whatever of the classic monsters I wanted to, or, wait for them to air, usually like really early in the morning on Saturday night, like Sunday morning. And sometimes they would air some Universal monster movies during that time. And my stepfather was kind enough to record a lot of those off of television for me. Rest in peace, big guy. Very, very kind of him to do that. Looking back, I think that guy actually did have a soft spot for me, honestly, even though it didn't feel like it at the time. I'll say that. But anyway, the other reason I wanted to take off her cape was, of course, I wanted to talk about the articulation. And like I said, I just want to reiterate, this is a cape, not like a gown or a shift or a shroud or whatever you want to call it in the movie. It's not the same type of garment. It's a completely different type of garment, but I think it's an appropriate for what this is supposed to be, which is a retro style Bride of Frankenstein. All right, so and going back to the whole naming convention thing, unlike the monster, who's never actually given a proper name in any of the movies, she is officially named the Bride of Frankenstein within the movie by her co-creator, Dr. Pretorius. That's another character that I wanted to see Neca do a figure of, is Dr. Pretorius. Oh, that guy is certainly a character. So we need Henry Frankenstein, we need Dr. Pretorius, we need Igor, and we need Fritz. That's the hunchback character that Dwight Fry plays in the first movie. Hell, we need a Renfield figure. That was another one that we were talking about. Maybe Claude Rains as Sir John Talbot. So a lot of cool supporting characters they could do. Anyway, so the Bride of Frankenstein can look up about that far. She can look down that far, tilt her head kind of quizzically from side to side, kind of dart her head around sharply like a bird. This is Elsa Lanchester based her performance off a bird. Of course, the head can rotate all the way around. It's a little stiff on mine, but she is a stiff, or at least used to be one, so that makes sense. The bride's arms can rotate all the way around at the shoulders. They do kind of bump into this flared shoulder piece here. Remember, she's a Frankenstein monster, so she is a little larger and bulkier in some ways, even though she's a bit more light and delicate than her husband, her groom. She's the reluctant. She didn't ask for this. She didn't ask to be put in this position. She's not particularly tall. You can see, if we don't count her hair, she barely comes up to Boris's shoulders there. But I don't know if they actually made her to be tall in the movie. They never talk about her height in the movie. She doesn't seem particularly tall. I think in the book, when Victor was building the female creature, he was going to build her to be a large creature, just like his male creature. But we'll never know how she would have turned out, because he destroyed her before he could imbue her with life. In the novel, the monster forces Victor to create a bride for him. And Victor, as he's building the female creature, starts to think about, well, what if she doesn't want to be, the creature's mate? What if she rejects him? Or worse, what if she actually does reciprocate his feelings, and they get together and procreate? What if they're fruitful and multiply? Worse, what if she turns out to be a worse creature than this? What if she turns out to be even more evil than him? And in a fit of madness, he tears the female creature apart. And then the original Frankenstein monster threatens him, "I will be with you on your wedding night." And then he does come back and gets his revenge on Victor Frankenstein on his wedding night, but not in the way that Victor thinks. Victor thinks the creature is coming for him, but in fact, the creature is coming for his innocent bride, Elizabeth. And tragedy ensues. The Universal movies, they're a bit more happy and joyful in their endings. Frankenstein gets to live at the end of the first Frankenstein movie, and he and Elizabeth escape with their lives at the end of Bride of Frankenstein. Apparently, Henry in the Universal movies, Henry dies sometime in between Bride and Son of Frankenstein, because Wolf Frankenstein has inherited his estates. But Victor Frankenstein of the novel, never had a son because he never even got a chance to consummate his wedding because the monster killed her. So, yeah. And I read that book when I was a kid. That's some heavy reading for an 8-year-old. It wasn't the original novel. It was one of those where they adapt it for like a younger readership. But they didn't pull any punches with it either. Like all the characters that die in the original book still die in the younger versions. Final Girl says they were so cutting edge for their time that I feel like they had to soften the ending to get them approved. Yeah, and from what I understand, I could be wrong about this, but from what I understand, when they did the test screening of the original 1931 Frankenstein, that was one where the audience did not like that Henry died in that version. And honestly, I kind of feel like Henry Frankenstein of the movie is a more I don't know if heroic is the right term, but he seems like he's a better guy than Victor Frankenstein of the novel. So, he seems to be more reasonable and have more of a head on his shoulders anyway. So I love the Universal Frankenstein movies, and I kind of feel like there's a reason that those are actually kind of the prominent versions of those characters in popular culture today. But that doesn't take away either from my respect for Mary Shelley and her novel, especially considering how she was 16 years old when she wrote that thing. She was a kid and wrote one of the masterpieces of English literature, and arguably the first sci-fi novel, arguably the first horror novel, and invented 2 completely different genres out of that. Mary Shelley was an awesome human being. There's no doubt about that. And she was the original goth girl. I'm just going to throw that out there too. So anyway, where was I as far as the articulation goes? Oh yeah, so she's got a single joint of articulation at the elbow, and that rotates all the way around, but it is one of those where it's at an angle. So it can only, rotate around so far while remaining straight. Wrists rotate all the way around, and they have what appears to be a horizontal hinge, so they can move back and forth that way. I believe that the Ultimate Edition comes with several different hands, but she just comes with these sort of flat hands. But again, these are the hands that I would imagine if Remco had made this figure back in the day, this would have been the way that her hands would have looked. So she could walk around in that sort of stereotypical Frankenstein fashion, even though I don't believe she ever walked around like that in the movie, but that's how you tend to think of a Frankenstein monster walking that way. And like I mentioned before, that came from Bela Lugosi in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, where originally he was playing a Frankenstein monster that was blinded after the events of Ghost of Frankenstein, but they cut out any reference to that in the final movie. And Final Girl 27 says that she agrees with me totally. The original goth girl couldn't agree more. Absolutely. So she's got the cool McFarlane, I'm like a McFarlane anyway, but she's got the cool Neca torso articulation, moves back and forth either way. Can move back about that far, forward about that far, and of course rotates all the way around where the rib cage meets the abs. There's no articulation at the waist, it doesn't seem. That's one solid piece of plastic, but you'll be able to get enough articulation out of her that way. Bobby Wald says, I need to find a Frankenstein movie with Peter Cushing and David Prowse. Well, there's two. There's 2 where David Prowse is the monster, and but only one of those is one with Peter Cushing in it, and that is Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. But David Prowse also played the Frankenstein monster in Horror of Frankenstein, but Cushing doesn't play Baron Frankenstein in there. That one's Ralph Bates. They tried to reboot it because Peter Cushing retired from the role, I believe. I think Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed was originally supposed to be his last one. So they tried to reboot it with a new actor playing Baron Frankenstein, which Horror of Frankenstein is almost kind of a remake of Curse of Frankenstein. It's basically the same story. But that one was not successful and they managed to talk Peter Cushing into coming back to play the Baron just one more time, and that was Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. You can find that one on various streaming apps. I believe that Paramount distributed that one, so you can, like, I guess whatever you usually stream your digital library on, that'd probably be the one to purchase it on, because it's not part of movies anywhere, I don't think. So yeah, I own that one on YouTube. So, but anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, articulation. We still got a little articulation left. So Bride can kick up about that far, about 90 degrees, pretty standard. Not anything really to write home about, but not anything bad either. And she can do the splits, no problem. You want to make a flexible creature, that's the thing. So she has single joint of articulation at knee, which bends about that far and rotates all the way around. And again, like the elbows, it's a kind of an angle. And then her foot can point down about that far. Her foot can point up about that far. And then it rotates all the way around where the foot meets the ankle. So that's all the articulation that we get for her. And now she's in kind of an awkward kind of position. She didn't quite have her balance yet, if you remember in the original movie. So she'd kind of stumble around a little bit. So let's go ahead and get the cape back onto her. And then we can, and be careful when you take this cape on and off, because remember, it's just cheap vinyl. And if there's anything I remember about taking these capes on and off when I was a kid, is that if you're not too careful with it, it can get hung up on, the arms in various ways, and it can get torn. You always want to be really careful with these type of capes. So there we go. So I'm probably not going to take her cape off again unless I have like an idea for some kind of a diorama or a picture or something where she's not wearing the cape. So, and I like the look of the collar, even though it's not really very accurate to the movie. She didn't have a collar on her outfit at all. But if you want to make it a little more like what it looked like in the movie, you can always fold down the collar, which is how like these capes were done in Star Wars anyway. And then it doesn't have that sticky uppy kind of aspect to it. But if you leave it like that, it's going to crease. So I'm not going to leave mine like that. I'm just showing you that it can be done. So let's go ahead and get a look at her next to Boris. And oh, don't they look nice together? So it's a shame these two crazy kids couldn't make it work out, but she did not like it. Final Girl says she likes it the better way for sure. So, and you can leave it that way if you want to, but I don't want to get a crease in it, so I'm gonna leave it down. And of course, like I said, if you want one that's like much more movie accurate, has the proper red hair and has a soft goods fabric gown to her, then that figure does exist. That's the Ultimate figure, and you can get that online actually for cheaper than this one right now. And of course, I've got the 2-pack that I ordered off the NECA website, and that's going to have the actual Bride of Frankenstein version of the monster. Of course, this is the 1931 version. So technically, these aren't the two that go together, but this is the one that I have. So this is the one from the same line, because it's the glow in the dark version. And of course, I do have back here. Where is he? Yeah, there we go. I got the Ultimate Frankenstein, so we'll probably be opening him up sometime next week. Ultimate Fan of the Opera is going to be coming a little bit sooner, because tomorrow, my next episode, I'm planning on doing it tomorrow anyway. My next episode, I will be opening up the last of my glow-in-the-dark figures that I have to open, which is the Phantom of the Opera. Got the glow-in-the-dark Phantom of the Opera. And then the next episode after that, I will be opening up this guy, the Red Death version of Phantom of the Opera. And man, he is a cool looking figure. I'm looking forward to opening up that. This is one where it's not the outfit that he wears for most of the movie, obviously, but the scene that he wears it in is just so impressive. And that was a scene that was actually shot in that 2-color Technicolor process back in the day. So viewers in the cinema actually did get to see him in color, not full color, because it was 2-color Technicolor. It wasn't quite full color yet, but they did get to see this brilliant red outfit on Lon Chaney back in the day, so that's pretty cool. And the figure itself, I'm going to show it off again. It just looks so cool. I saw this one and I'm like, I don't even have the regular Phantom of the Opera yet, but that one's so impressive that I'm just going to buy him on his own. So I'm really excited to talk about this guy and the glow in the dark Phantom of the Opera. I'm a big fan of the Lon Chaney Phantom of the Opera. That's probably my favorite version of that character. I know what's hip to talk about these days is that Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, and I like that too. I got a lot of appreciation for that, but yeah, I'm excited about Final Girl. Whenever you get that NECA horror mystery box, I hope that you stop by the channel and let me know what you've got. I'm going to be excited to hear about what you got myself. So. And I hope you get some Universal Monsters too. I hope that because Universal Monsters make everything better, don't they? So anyway, that's it for the Bride of Frankenstein. I really like this figure, and I'm glad that I picked her up. Even though, like I said, I've got the more realistic version on the way. I'll have her coming soon. But I'm a big fan of the kind of more retro look of the glow in the dark monsters, and I do feel like that. Those are they've got their own sort of place. And honestly, just coming at it from like this 80s kid that picked these up in the drugstore on a trip there with his grandmother, and she was a big fan of the old Universal monsters, so she was happy to buy me Dracula and Frankenstein, and I had a lot of adventures with those guys, and I would have got Bride if she'd have existed back then, but you dropped the ball, Remco. You didn't have your eye on the ball. But yeah, she looks great. She's got that sort of retro look that I like, and I will be able to have a more realistic version of this character coming soon from NECA. Hopefully I'll be getting that package sometime in the near future. It says first quarter of 2026, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that maybe they can get her to me in time for Halloween, but we'll just see. In the meantime, I will definitely content myself with this version of Elsa. She looks quite lovely, so I'm very happy with how this figure turned out. And next episode, we'll be opening up Phantom of the Opera. So then I'll have I might even take a picture of all the glow in the dark monsters together. It should be fun. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure that you like and subscribe and all the fun YouTube stuff down below. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the Bride of Frankenstein, both the character in general, this figure specifically. Oh, and let me know what you think about the movie. A lot of people consider it to be the finest of the Universal Monster movies, and I would not disagree with that. I'm not sure what is my personal favorite between the original 1931 Frankenstein and the sequel, but it is one of the best sequels that's ever been made, just period. And I do think it's probably, like, in a technical way, the best of the Universal Monster movies. Maybe not my most personal favorite. I'd say it's my third favorite overall, but then again, I'm also like a huge fan. Count Dracula is my favorite character of all the Universal Monsters, and my second favorite character of all time. And you know who my number one favorite character is. That should be obvious, even if you haven't heard me mention him. He's the guy that I've got the most action figures of back here. And I'm gonna have more Batman up. Like, you can't even see the one that Randy Bishop gave me, and Randy Bishop actually left me a comment on the last video, but his is right up there. I'm gonna move him over because I want to make sure I have the one that Randy Bishop gave me on full display. I want people to be able to see that one. But yeah. After Batman, Dracula is my most favorite character. Only Batman is above Dracula on my list. So, but yeah, so that's my second favorite Universal Monster movie, and I think Bride would come in at third. But I love all three of them. Rich Hansel says, I'm not a huge fan of the Bride movie, but then again, I'm a huge Mary Shelley Frankenstein book fan. And hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I was talking about earlier, I'm a huge fan of the original Mary Shelley book. I read like the junior edition novel when I was in 3rd grade. And, when I finally got to high school, then no, I think it was middle school even. I think I got an early start on that. Then was when I read like the actual original Mary Shelley version of Frankenstein. And I'm talking, I went back to the original Mary Shelley, because, there's 2 editions. There's one from like, there's the original one, I think was from like 1814, and the other one was like 1821. I think she did a revised edition, and the revised edition is more common nowadays, but I hunted down that original one. That was the one that I read. So I've read both of them since then, but yeah, I like the original one better. It's a little more visceral in a lot of ways. So that's my personal favorite edition of the novel. That's just me. But yeah, Mary Shelley's original novel is such an accomplishment. And I like to think that if Mary Shelley could, take a trip through time and see what became of her hideous progeny, I think she'd be very proud of how it turned out. She saw the play of Frankenstein that was written during her lifetime, and that one took a lot of liberties too. And she said they made a mess of her story, but she still had fun watching it. And I kind of feel like that's how she would feel about the 1931 version of Frankenstein too. So we're going to have a lot more monster stuff to come throughout October, because, I love Halloween. And then I think after that, we're going to get on to some G.I. Joe, because I got lots of G.I. Joe to open up. I got lots of Superman stuff to open up. So, I love Superman. So, we got the Back to the Future stuff to open up. So October 21st, I'll be opening up Marty McFly, and November 5th, I'll be opening up Doc Brown. So, and anybody who's a fan of those movies, you should know the significance of those dates. So anyway, that's it for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Oh yeah, I'll say again, make sure you like and subscribe. YouTube likes it when I say like and subscribe, so I like to say like and subscribe. So make sure that you like and subscribe. All right, and leave a comment. Everybody leave comments down below. I like it when you leave comments. I always get a lot of people in the chat, but I don't always get a lot of comments. So, and I like comments. So please leave comments. And again, tell me what you think about the movie Bride of Frankenstein, the character the Bride of Frankenstein, and this figure the Bride of Frankenstein. And also, you can tell me what you think about the NECA Ultimate Edition, and if you've got that one, and what you think of that figure. And I'm looking forward to the 2-pack version that I've got, hopefully on the way soon. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We will talk to you next time. Bye. Yeah.